everybody. Really glad to be with you this week. Sorry I missed you last week. I wanted to talk with you about a few things today. There is so much going on the national scene, the local scene, but I want to focus on a couple of things. Recently, as you probably know, the Office of the Independent Police Review, I think I've got that correct. It's basically the Ontario Police Complaints Office. Recently released a huge report around the violence that happened on the part of police officers at the G20 2 years ago. I'm sure you've heard all about that. It's really important for us to pay attention to this report, but it's also important to recognize that there are things that the report does not deal with, and things that should be of a great concern to all of us that need to be covered and need to be dealt with in terms of our police service. So not only do we have evidence of widespread lack of communication, widespread violence, officers removing name badges, officers taking the law into their own hands, officers using tactics like kettling, using rubber bullets, all sorts of stuff that illegal search and seizure, of course, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people having knapsacks and purses and bags searched for no reason, a total contravention of civil rights in this country. And the report deals with all of that very well, and you get, I encourage you to read it. We'll put a link up on the screen for you to take a look at the actual report. And it's long, but have a look at the executive summary and you'll get a real sense of how disorganized and how chaotic that weekend was. And it gives you good background into why some of the decisions that were made, or actually it's actually more about the lack of decisions that were made. And Bill Blair, the chief of the Toronto Police, should definitely step down. Somebody has to be held accountable for the massive civil and human rights violations. I wanted to talk a little bit about those human rights violations because the report actually does not discuss those in any great detail. But what we know from the G20 weekend, and if you're listening to the news today on Friday, May 25th, you'll have heard people who were arrested and detained by the police, later to have charges dropped. They're reporting terrible human rights abuses. Things said by officers, very, very homophobic, very transphobic, very sexist remarks, actions. We had people with disabilities who were denied medication, denied prosthetics. We have deaf people who were attacked by police officers seconds after they did not respond to orders to move. Of course, deaf people, if you're not using sign language or if you're dealing with someone who doesn't read lips, especially in chaotic situations, of course, they're going to have a hard time responding to verbal orders. But people were beaten up as a result of that. Young women were targeted during the G20. Particularly activists dragged out of crowds, thrown on the ground, denied sanitary napkins, denied all sorts of stuff in the prison that was set up. The prison itself comes in for a lot of criticism in the report, but as I say, many of the actions of police officers in terms of human rights violation are not dealt with. And this speaks to a greater problem within policing right across this country. As we know, sexual harassment and sexual assault scandals within the RCMP, the strip searching in front of a video camera and the beating of a woman by the Ottawa police, the terrible just every day hearing more and more about the shoddy and neglectful and abusive police practices in Vancouver during the disappearances, in regard to the disappearances of Aboriginal women and sex workers from the downtown east side in Vancouver over 30 years, lack of police response, not taking these disappearances seriously. So we're hearing about that every day. And of course in Toronto, we're coming up to the year anniversary, or we've just passed the year anniversary actually, of the officer who told York University students that if they would like to prevent rape, women need to stop dressing like sluts. So we see this sexism, this queerphobia, transphobia, racism, classism, you know, right across all police services. We have a police services in crisis right across this country. So the G20 report gets at some of that, but there's a lot of it doesn't get at. And distressingly, what we're seeing right now in Montreal is that the police services there are using the exact same tactics that were used in the G20. Just yesterday, on Thursday, May 24th, we have reports of a huge group of protesters being kettled by police, by the Sûreté de Québec, and 500 of those people arrested, not allowed to leave a situation. This is just what the report is talking about, that tactic should never be used with large crowds, that punishing everyone for the actions of a few is unconstitutional and will be challenged. And yet, even after the experience of the G20, what we see in Montreal is the exact same tactics being used. Overreaction by police, pepper spraying indiscriminately a bar patio and sending people scattering. I'm wearing red today in solidarity with the students and other activists in Quebec. I encourage all of us to stick a little red square on our jacket or our coat, or to wear red, and to remember that the fight that the Montreal students have initiated is a fight for social programs in this country. It's a fight for values that say that post-secondary education is a public good, that it is something that is not a privilege that should be conferred just on a few, but that in fact post-secondary education is something that benefits our society, and that the more people have access to affordable, quality post-secondary education, the more it's going to benefit our economy and the more it's going to benefit our country. And that's what these students are fighting for. And in fact, we should be fighting for this right across this country. It is quite possible to offer very low-cost public post-secondary education to all of those that want it and need it. We have right now a government in Canada that is focusing, in fact, and we've seen this with the proposals to change the EI laws. We have a government that is proposing, in fact, to not support people to improve their lives, to make a better wage, to get better training, to get that post-secondary education. This is what we need. We need people to be able to see themselves having a bright future. We need people to have a sense that they are going to be able to rise up through their jobs, to make more money in the next job, to improve their prospects. What we have is a government right now, a national government, that is pushing us all to the lowest wage possible with these EI changes and with their disgusting and racist and xenophobic move in Bill C-31, the new immigration bill, to legislate and allow employers to pay some migrant workers 15% less than minimum wage, or less than what a Canadian employee would be making in whatever job it is that they're looking at. So in fact, we have not, a government is also loosening the ability of employers to bring in more and more temporary migrant workers. These are folks who contribute to our economy, who contribute to our country only for a maximum of 4 years, and they're not allowed to set roots in this country or make any gains for themselves, but in fact will be kicked out of the country after 4 years, an arbitrary date that makes absolutely no sense. So what the government is doing is that it is pitting Canadian workers against migrant workers. It is allowing employers to keep wages low. It is threatening that people who have paid into EI and need to use EI from time to time, it is threatening them with being kicked off EI after as little as, in some cases, I believe they're proposing 9 weeks for those people who, because they have seasonal jobs, need to go on EI fairly often. This is a program, of course, that we all pay into, people who are working in jobs where they have deductions taken off their pay. This is something that is an insurance plan. It's a part of an essential part of our social safety net in this country. And this government that we have right now is out to totally destroy our EI system and totally destroy people's ability to get ahead in their lives by promising nothing for training. There's nothing in the omnibus budget that would provide people with training, improve job prospects. Instead, what they're saying to people, and the minister, Diane Finley, is quite open about this. She wants McDonald's to be able to fill all of their positions at minimum wage part-time jobs with no benefits. She's quite clear about it, actually. You got to say one thing for this government. They certainly telegraph to you exactly what they're all about. It's very like the Mike Harris years, where we're being attacked on all sides, where we're seeing people being affected by racist, classist, and sexist legislation from every direction. And it makes it very hard for activists to keep up that fight, because there are so many directions where we need to keep up that fight. But I want to encourage us to keep doing that. I want us to stand in solidarity with the Quebec students and activists who have been demonstrating for more than 100 days for the rights of students to see themselves having a bright future and to get the education and training that they need. We have people bravely taking the lead, newcomers to this country, migrants, refugees, and their advocates, taking brave stands against Bill C-31, and I want to encourage us all to do that. The weekly vigils are continuing in Dufferin Grove Park, just across from the Dufferin Mall, on Fridays from 5 to 6 p.m. I want to encourage everybody. Those vigils will be going on for another 26 weeks or so. Please join the advocates and activists there at that vigil, and so we can let the public know that people are opposed to Bill C-31. There's also coming up on June 21st, so lots of notice for this. From 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. there is a forum about the massive changes being proposed under Bill C-31. The women's rights, I'm just looking for the organization, my apologies. The Rights of Non-Status Women Network is sponsoring this forum on June 21st at 60 Lowther Avenue, and we'll put up an email where you can contact them for more info. They're going to be talking about how the changes will impact migrants and immigrant communities, particularly women who are refugees, newcomers, immigrants, permanent residents, etc. And their forum is going to be talking about how we can push back against those changes. So I certainly encourage all of us to be aware of what the Rights of Non-Status Women Network is up to. No One is Illegal, of course, has been leading this charge as well. The Workers' Action Center, many other groups. There was just a demonstration on Thursday, May 24th, outside MP Joe Oliver's office, again protesting this legislated ability of employers to pay people less money based on their country of origin. Just shameful. Absolutely shameful that we would allow a government to do this, that this government would try to do this. It will be constitutionally challenged. It will be defeated. But in the meantime, thousands and thousands of people will lose their right to well-paid and adequately paid labor. The minimum wages in this country are already too low. We should be working to raise these minimum wages. We should be working to raise the amounts of money that people are able to, low-income people are able to take home from their work. So let's make sure to be out there on June 21st as well. Keep your eye on the Workers' Action Center. No One is Illegal websites for upcoming actions, because there's going to be lots of them. We really need to be in the streets. We need to be emailing and phoning our MPs and our MPPs, and we need to be on this. And just before I end, I want to put a quick shout out to the Barbara Schleifer Clinic, a long-time women's advocacy clinic working with survivors of sexual violence and woman abuse. They have just launched, with the help of lawyers working pro bono, just launched a constitutional challenge against the killing of the long gun registry. They are making the argument that by getting rid of the long gun registry, this is a violation of women's rights to equal protection under the law and our human rights under the Charter. It's a great argument. It's absolutely true, and I want to give them a huge shout out to the ED, Amanda Dale, and all of the people at the Schleifer Clinic and the legal people working with them. Wish them much luck, and we'll keep our eye on how that progresses. We can fight back against this conservative government, and we must do so. We must make that effort. We must make that commitment. So I'll see you out there on the streets.